Hello and welcome to a quick Mole Thoughts here on the Mole RP channel. My name is ChaosMole and today we want to talk about Skull and Bones, the closed beta. Now the first question you probably have is, wait a minute Mole, that's not a role-play game. Well, no it is. It 100% is. Your character is your ship. You can actually get better items, better ships, their stats you can increase. There are different rarities in the items, and believe it or not, they're kind of pretend there is a story where you can even give different answers, and then they will react differently on your answers. Not the ship, but you have a character, which doesn't really mean anything. And then they will, again, as I said, answer you differently depending on what answer you give them. It's just an illusion of choice. It doesn't change anything. But in its core, I would say it's more like an action RPG. But this time, they are just trying to put it all on the ship. And man, we really have to talk about Skull and Bones. I mean, let's be real, when they kind of started to ask for this game 10 years ago after Black Flag, everyone was kind of thinking that we are getting like a game in 3 years, and now it's nearly 10 years later. And technically speaking, we got The Division, but with boats. That's literally what it boils down to, right? And even worse, it's... You know how Black Flag had some really cool ideas, and they just used them and then cut some of those ideas out, like plundering. You cannot board another ship anymore.
Mole, no. I have seen trailers where they're showing the boarding.
Yeah, it's not. It's an illusion. It's a trick. They are basically trying to suggest something which isn't there. Yes, there is boarding, but when you hit the board button, 10-second video is playing, and where you are stealing the items from the ship, and that was it. You are doing absolutely nothing. It's a quick video which is playing in the background. And the same goes for your character, right? You are creating a character at the beginning, and it suggests this, oh yeah, so your character is really important, and it's a bit like Black Flag. Now that character is completely unimportant. You are running around in the cities or in the ports, and you are basically just walking from vendor to vendor to buy your shit, and then you are sailing out. It's like I was at the point where I'm actually got annoyed by this, and I just asked myself, couldn't you just remove it and let me all do it over interface? I know people would call this lazy, but yeah, I am lazy at this point, because running from vendor to vendor in that city, trying to remember where the person was and what they have to offer is just don't. Give me all the options in the menu, and you will never see me in that port walking around ever again. It's the illusion of you have a character which means something. It doesn't, right? And gameplay-wise, it's Black Flag. It's exactly like Black Flag. Yes, they have much to do. They put a lot of live service activities into this, and we will talk about that in a few minutes. But that's what it boils down to. It's The Division. It's Ubisoft. If you have played any of the Ubisoft live service games, you know exactly what you are getting. No, they do not have towers. They kind of moved on from that meme, but everything else is still there, right? You are farming your resources, you are getting better ships, you are getting better cannons. And there are some like minor classes in the game, so you can deck out your ship that you are more the tank, that you are more the DPS, that you can be actually a little bit of a healer. So they definitely have that, but everything feels mediocre. The graphics, like when you were talking to NPCs, oh my god, the faces, it's like no emotions really. The voice acting is okay, but everything else feels like this game should have come out 6 years ago, and it doesn't really keep up with the times anymore, and it doesn't really feel that good. Does the sailing feel great? Does the combat feel great? Yeah, very much like Black Flag, even though I would say they did go even more arcadey in this one. But the combat is basically always the same thing. It doesn't really change that much. Yeah, it's just... I hate to say it, but this game is mediocre at best. That's what it is. And they even... they even screwed up like one of the coolest aspects of those pirate games. right? If you have ever played Black Flag, if you have played Sid Meier's Pirates, if you have played the newest Tortuga, there is this one idea that you can also be kind of a merchant, right? And they have that also in Skull and Bones. So you can buy items cheap and then sell them more expensive somewhere else, or you can just plunder other ships, take their stuff, and sell it for money, right? It's pretty simple. But even that, they don't do right. Because, yes, there is an economy in the game. So when a lot of people are selling, let's say, wood in one harbor, then the money goes down after some time, right? And when they need more rum, then the money they will pay for it will go up. So yes, there is an economy, and that's pretty cool. But it does not matter. The money difference, the silver difference between the I pay you more and I pay you less, we are talking about between 1 silver and maybe the highest I have ever seen was 8 silver difference or 10 silver difference. And sure, you might argue, well, if I'm selling 100 pieces, 10 more silver means 1,000. Yeah, but A, you don't have that many. Like you were selling like small numbers, especially at the beginning, so it doesn't really matter to you. And more importantly, you can just make silver so much more through other means. Find a treasure. Finding a treasure, especially when you realize how it works, takes you maybe 5 minutes, and you made thousands and thousands of silver. Like, unfortunately, silver doesn't mean too much at a certain point in this game, and so looking for that extra pricing you can get is just not making a difference. And it gets even worse. It gets even worse. So what you're normally doing is you are sailing from harbor to harbor to find out the best prices, right? Well, you also have to transfer your wares, and there technically is PvP in this game when you are on a PvP server. On a PvE server, it doesn't matter, but on a PvP server, you would argue that, well, you also have to transfer your wares from one harbor to another. Doesn't happen here because through pirate magic, I assume, all the warehouses are linked. You have one wide warehouse, and you don't have to take anything with you. You just have it in your warehouse, you go to another city, you take the items out of the warehouse you want to sell there, and that's what you're doing. So there is no danger of you to ever being like losing your stuff, right? Another thing, and this makes it even crazier, you can also fast travel between the harbors. You can just fast travel. Yes, you can do that with your wares. So if you just want to check where you get the most out of it, you are just fast traveling through all the harbors, and then you sell your stuff. It's like, wow, what? What? It's so bizarre. Like, they have so streamlined this game that it basically now conflicts with the gameplay elements. And let's talk about live service stuff. This game reeks of live service activities, like stop a convoy, attack a strong NPC boss, do some standard missions from transporting stuff from A to B, attack somebody. Like, there is nothing interesting here, and it's really all just there to keep you occupied. And I can already see quite a bit of features where I fear that the item shop, when it comes in, will sell you a bunch of really helpful items. Like, in a typical Ubisoft fashion, I can already see like all the little things Ubisoft will try to make some money from. Now, the item shop is not in the beta. They left that out conveniently. But when this game releases, oh boy. And speaking of live service, even in the beta, there are not enough people. I had so many moments where I was calling for help to do like a level 4 boss, and one person showed up, and that boss is tough. You need more than one person for this, and you don't even have to try it alone. But nobody's coming. You barely see other players. Like, in Sea of Thieves, you see more players than in this game. And if you have played Sea of Thieves, you know that's relatively rare. It happens, right? But it's like, yeah, it's okay, you can handle it. Here in this game, it's absolutely rare that I find a player. And that doesn't bode well for when this game is coming out, because again, it's a live service game. A lot of the activities needs other players. You need them, and there are none, right? I mean, I get it, it's a beta and everyone is doing something else, but it's still like, you would kind of assume that people are checking out activities, right? When something is popping up on the map and is promising you loot, then you would kind of expect that a lot of people are coming over, right? I mean, it's loot. No, nothing. And that's rough. And let's not forget, this game will cost 70/80 bucks. This is a full price title. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, dude, maybe 30? Maybe Game Pass? I know everyone has their own opinion on how much a game should cost and how much they're willing to pay, but I could go buy Assassin's Creed Black Flag for 10 bucks. We'll get similar graphics on the PC at least, and we'll get similar gameplay. And I can still board like other ships. And in this game, there are also still microtransactions and a lot of activities which are just there to keep you in the game, right? Like, it is the most Ubisoft game I have ever seen. Absolutely streamlined down to the T. Just live service stuff, hopefully paying or letting you pay for some microtransactions at some point, and no innovation whatsoever. Like, playing it safe, but I'm really hoping for this game. It's not coming out this year. If it's coming out this year, it will not sell. Like, this year in particular, you need some banger games. We had so many good games, and we are still getting some good games. I mean, we are a few days away from Starfield. Like, this game is not allowed to come out this year. It will not change. I mean, they have now tried to change this game 5 times or so at this point, and this is what they come up with. It's just like, yeah, I'm hoping you are coming out at a time when there are not a lot of games coming out, and maybe people will give it a chance. But for 70 bucks, nah. I'm sorry. That's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. But that was my thoughts on the closed beta. Keep in mind that you are relatively limited. We don't see the end game. We don't see PvP. We don't even see like the rest of the game. But you get a good feeling for the gameplay itself. And as I said, there's nothing really there which we haven't seen in Black Flag yet, minus the boarding and the fighting, because they cannot put that in. They will never put it in. Like, I saw some people saying, like, yeah, at some point they probably patch it in. No, they can't. It's impossible, because it's a live service game. You would interrupt the flow of sailing and other people in the vicinity when everyone could actually do the boarding fight. The live service game is getting into the way of some really cool gameplay ideas they have, because it's a live service game and there are other players around you. So, no, it will not happen. With that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, even though it was kind of devastating, sorry for that. Don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. With that said, have a good one.